Okay. Hello, Scuba Believers. Welcome to my very first stage talk about what I like to talk about in my podcast all the time, the four hurdles of stop, the four things we come across most when we talk about starting an entrepreneur adventure and what actually stops us from starting. First of all, I'd like to give a huge thank you to the Four Seasons Inn for letting me use their stage. This place is great, and please look us up in Branson, Missouri. Give them a shot. It's really awesome. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started here. And I'd like to know if you've ever couldn't wait to get it perfect. You couldn't ship it out until it's 100% perfect. Or you told yourself, you know, it's not the right time because of blank. Just insert whatever excuse here. I want you to put a fire emoji inside the chat. And then also, if you feel like you're not worthy of what you're doing, or you feel like, I don't know, you just, what am I doing here? That kind of thing. Put a thumbs up in the emoji if you're feeling these feelings. If you never feel like you could even get started, if you can't even feel like you could get across the start line in your entrepreneur adventure, put a 100% sign in the chat right now. I want to see who you are and the kind of hurdles that you've come across. If you felt any of these things, then I want to say congratulations to you because you are showing the signs of an entrepreneur and starting your entrepreneur journey. Now, I can I can hear you now. Like, what are you talking about? I mean, if I'm feeling these feelings, why does this feel like I'm not actually getting started? If I'm feeling these feelings, what does that even mean? What that actually means is you're feeling the the feelings of an entrepreneur because we all as entrepreneurs feel these emotions, feel these hurdles that stop us from getting across the start line. So let's all kind of think about that as we go along in our entrepreneur adventure. Let's take these positive things, these negative things, and turn them into positive things because these are the things that are going to get us across the start line in our entrepreneurial adventure as long as we can recognize these things. So in this talk, I'm actually going to go into detail about these hurdles of your entrepreneur adventure, these hurdles that are stopping you from getting us across the start line. And I'm going to talk about three of them and then the fourth one at the end because the fourth one's going to be the most important one. So the first one we're going to talk about today is imposter syndrome. So Meryl Streep said, "You think to yourself, why would anyone want to see me in a movie? I don't even know how to act anyway. So who am I to do this?" And even Michelle Obama said, "I still have a bit of imposter syndrome, that feeling that everybody's looking to me, but what do I know?" Even the most important people that we come across on our day-to-day basis will all have some sort of imposter syndrome or the feelings of imposter syndrome. So what we're going to do here is go over a few of the things. There's the obvious ones obvious hurdles, obvious feelings that we have that we know that are imposter syndrome. But there are a couple of them out there that we're not exactly sure if this is imposter syndrome, what even these feelings are. So I'm going to kind of go over the ones that aren't exactly 100% obvious to us that they're imposter syndrome. So one of the main ones that I like to talk about is crediting your luck to something else. I was just lucky, I guess. Or I was just at the right place at the right time, not giving ourselves the credit for the work that we've done to get to where we are in our entrepreneur adventure. We got to give ourselves the credit. It's not talking ourselves up or, bragging or anything like that. It's giving ourselves the credit that we deserve for the hard work that we do in our entrepreneur adventure. The other one I like to talk about is overworking ourselves, where we just work just to meet the expectations we have for ourselves. We got to do this hard work now so we can prove to ourselves that we are who we say we are. But the problem with that is it leads to overwork to meet those expectations, eventually eventually leads to burnout and decline of the quality of work that we do, and even the neglect of our relationships. And I'm sure you can see that a lot of people that do a lot of hard work, they tend to neglect their friends, and then they tend to neglect their family, their loved ones, just so they can get this work done. We can't do that in our entrepreneur adventure. I know we want to meet these expectations. I know we want to get the word out there and that kind of thing, but if we work too hard, it's going to cause burnout, and that's no good for anybody. Also, downplaying our accomplishments. I mean, it's like, okay, yeah, I did okay. Yeah, I did my best. This is one that I really had a problem with when I was going through my entrepreneur adventure, because it's nice to get accolades and get compliments from people. At the same time, you kind of feel like, oh, I don't deserve them. I don't deserve these compliments. No, you do deserve these compliments because we worked hard to get to where we're at. So always keep that in mind too. Don't downplay your accomplishments. Be proud of your accomplishments. Be proud of what you do in your entrepreneurial venture, whether it be something online or something physical. Don't minimize your accomplishments. And then some of the obvious ones, who am I? Who am I to do this? I mean, that's one of my biggest ones too. When I first started my entrepreneurial venture and I started my podcast, you wouldn't have known who I was 3 years ago, because I was like, all these compliments, anything that I was doing, stay away. I don't want to know any of this stuff. I mean, it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. I mean, whatever you say, words that come out of your mouth are your reality. You got to understand there's a lot of people that don't know what you know. I mean, whatever you're doing, there's always somebody that's 10% behind you. So be open to helping those people and understanding that they might not know what you know. You personally might think it's common knowledge. But as you go along, you realize it's not common knowledge. I've come across that time and time again when I ask somebody a question and I surprise myself that they don't know the answer to it. That really means it's not common knowledge. So make sure you give yourself the accolades when you talk about those things, and understand that people want to know what you know. So I'm going to talk about another one, perfectionism. Perfectionism is a really big one right now too. While one person hesitates because they feel inferior, the other is making mistakes and becoming superior. And that was from Henry Link. So let's explore this thing called perfectionism. Overthinking causes delays. When we want to get into perfectionism, a lot of times what will happen is we want it to be perfect all the time and every time, and that'll actually stifle us. It'll turn into, what do you want to call it? It'll turn into procrastination. It's kind of weird to kind of equal those two together, procrastination and perfectionism. We want it to be perfect, but we don't release anything until it's perfect, so we stop releasing it. I mean, have you ever been to the point where you're like, okay, I'm going to release this thing on this day, and just before that day happens, there's a little something that you want to change, a little tweak that you want to make, so you put off the release date, and then the release date comes, and you want to put it off again and again and again and again. Why? Why are we not putting that out there now so we can get information from our customers and find out what really needs to happen, what really needs to change? Heck, they might even like it the way it is right now, and you start making money off it that way. What we really need to do here is what Gary Vee says, to just ship it. Put it out there in the world and see what happens with it and make adjustments on the way. That way we know exactly what our customers want and we can adjust it for them. Don't make it for yourself. Make it for your customers. When you're not asking your customers what they want in your product, you're making it for yourself. You have no idea what your customers want until you get it out there and see their reaction to it. Don't make things for yourself. Make things for your customers. Make things for the people that follow you. resource drain. This is a big one too. As we go along our entrepreneur adventure and we want things to be perfect, we use up resources to make it perfect, whether it be time, whether it be money, whether it be effort. This is all things we're putting into our product to make it perfect. But we keep dumping stuff in there. If we keep dumping stuff in there, we're going to start burning out again. We're going to use a lot of money that we don't have to use because we keep trying to make it perfect. So instead of trying to make it perfect and dumping all these resources in there, just put out your smallest viable product, the one product that you know is going to at least work, and see what happens. Missed opportunities. This is a big one too. As you're trying to go along in your entrepreneur adventure, the opportunities that you can have that you miss because you think your product isn't perfect. Somebody could come up to you and say, I really like what you're doing. And you'll say to yourself, oh, that's great, but it's not ready to go yet. It's not 100% perfect yet. So you don't put it out. Missed opportunities. Perfectionism versus progress. It's okay to put B minus work out there. It's all right to do that because that's where we all start. Nothing we do out here is 100% perfect. So be okay with releasing B minus work out there and then let it grow from there. And remember, you're making this for your customers, not for yourself. So all these things that we've talked about up to this point, perfectionism, imposter syndrome, and now we're going to talk about failure. Failure is a big thing because all our lives as we grow up as kids, especially from my generation, we talk about how failure is horrible, how failure is bad. Like if you got an F on your report card or things didn't quite work out the way you wanted to. Now, me personally, and I think other people needs to know this too, we need to celebrate failure. Why? Because we're going to learn a lot more from failure than we are from succeeding. When we succeed, that's great. We finally put something out there and it worked. But what did we really learn from that success? Failure, on the other hand, it didn't work, but what can we learn from that failure till we can move that into our next entrepreneur venture, into our next product? And that way we could learn what other people want for your product or for your next product or for your podcast. Who knows? It really depends on what you're doing and how you handle that is what makes us do what we do. So celebrate your failures. Don't be afraid to celebrate your failures. We must refrain from giving failure a bad name. We have to unlearn what we've learned up to this point when it comes to failure. We really have to redefine this in our own personal way. We have to redefine failure in our own personal way. Everybody's going to do it differently, but we'll take a lot more into ourselves if we personally go in and define failure our own way. And the acronym for failure. I really hope that you haven't heard this yet. If you have heard it, I want you to give me a big heart emoji in the chat right now. FAIL. First attempt in learning. This is something we've never done before or done this particular way before or anything like that. So if it's your first time doing it, of course there's going to be room for failure. Of course failure is a possibility. It's the first time you've done it. And take the learnings from that experience and make something even better. So I'm going to give you my personal story on failure and how it actually worked out for me. My podcast, if you've been following me for the last 3 years, you've probably heard this story already, but if this is the first time you're hearing this, my podcast is actually the product of a failure. When I first started, I wanted to be a karaoke DJ and a music DJ. I love EDM music and I wanted to be a part of it. But I had no equipment, no microphones, absolutely nothing. So I thought, okay, here's what I'll do. I'll start a GoFundMe page and everybody will just give me money. And obviously that didn't work. I only got a couple $100 from my in a couple months, and that was from my mom. I'm sure she wanted to help me out, so I felt good about what I was doing. So after that failure, there's two ways I could have gone with it. Way number one, I could have just threw my hands up in the air and said, okay, I'm done. That's it. I don't want to do this anymore. It's not meant for me. Or I could say, all right, it didn't work, but why didn't it work? Let's research and figure out why things didn't go the way I wanted it to go. So I started researching. I went that way. I went the research way. And I found podcasting. Was podcasting my main goal at the time? No. But if I didn't have that failure, I never would have went to look for podcasting and what podcasting was about and learned about what I learned. And these last 3 years been podcasting has been absolutely amazing. So even though you have a failure, it's going to lead you into something different. It could lead you into a pivot into something else that you like even better. It could help you learn what you need to do to grow your business. You could change your product, your physical product, just a little bit to make it that little bit better because it didn't work out this time. There's so many ways that you can improve through failure. So make sure you celebrate the failure. So what failures have you come across? What failures have you experienced that turned into something even better? I want to hear about it. If you want to put in a little thing in the chat there, just a little couple of words to say what happened with you in that failure, that would be fantastic. And always remember that acronym, FAIL, first attempt in learning. So we've talked about failure, we've talked about perfection, we talked about imposter syndrome, and all three of those main emotions come down to one major emotion that kind of surrounds it all, and that's fear. And that's the fourth hurdle that we're going to talk about that I was kind of explaining a little bit earlier. One of the main fears that I've come across when I was interviewing new entrepreneurs that are just getting started, when it comes to fear of what others think of you. I don't want to do this because I'm afraid that somebody else thinks it's going to be stupid. I'm going to not do this because I'm afraid that somebody will troll me somewhere or something like that. It's really hard to say, but fear of what other people think of you is horrible. It's hard to get over sometimes, especially with people that love people and they want to be on the positive side. They always want to be on the good side. They don't want anybody mad at them. So that they don't progress, they don't move on, they don't do what they need to do. Don't be afraid of what other people think. Do not be afraid of what other people think. Instead, listen to them if they have constructive criticism, if you want to do that, but don't listen to them if it's like they just want to fluff it off. I mean, it could be hurtful, and you have to prepare yourself mentally for that for sure. But if we can get over worrying about what other people think of you, you're going to progress a lot faster, and you're going to attract more positivity to yourself, to the point where you might not even have to worry about that because everybody around you is positive about what you're trying to accomplish. Fear of failure is huge. And I think that's one of the other biggest ones that I come across. And I think if I've talked about 100, 150 guests on my podcast, a good 50, 60% of them always talked about fear of failure. If we can get over the fear of failure, a lot of what we do will happen. We can't be afraid of failure, because if we don't move on from that, we'll never see what's going to be on the other side of that fear of failure. There's a good chance we'll regret not taking that step over fear to see what's on the other side of fear. So do not be afraid of fear, I guess you can say. If you want to get over a fear, here's a good way to do it. I like my acronyms. What can I say? But here is a good acronym for fear. FEAR, false evidence appearing real. It's not a saber-toothed tiger that's going to bite you in the behind. It's a different kind of fear. It's a fear that's not real. It's a fear that's not going to physically harm us. But yet we still have that part of our brain that tries to protect us from things that are bad, from things that you might think might hurt you. But on the other side of that fear lies greatness. On the other side of that fear lies the thing that you're trying to accomplish. And when I have fear, I try to use it as a stepping stone to get into something else, to get over that as kind of a guide, because I know on the other side of that fear is something that I really want to accomplish and something that's probably going to progress me onto the next level. You should be able to do the same thing too. Never underestimate your ability to overcome fear. You can overcome fear, but it's up to you to have the mindset to be able to overcome that fear. So always remember, FEAR, false evidence appearing real. Remember, on the other side of that fear lies greatness. On the other side of that fear is knowledge. And the other side of that fear is you. So don't just do it for yourself, but more importantly, do it for the people that you will serve first. Because you're not only going to be affecting the lives of the people that you're talking to, of the new people that you're going to meet, of the new people that you're going to help, but also you're going to be affecting the lives of those people's families, of those people's friends, because it just works that way. It's how we change the world, by helping one person. And that one person might help somebody else. It'll change their life. It'll change their family's life. They'll change their friends, because we help them. We serve them first with whatever it is that our entrepreneur venture is about. So with that, I would really like to say thank you for listening to my talk. This is my first one. I'm probably going to have a few more. And I really enjoyed talking to you here. For anybody, and I'm going to do a little advertising for myself. Okay, I apologize ahead of time, y'all. I'm just going to do this real quick. For anybody that's listening to this program right now, I have a special going on for 6 months of coaching for the price of one. Anybody that wants to take advantage of that, please go to tuepodcast.net/speak or email me at doingittodaycoaching@gmail.com. I do have a Facebook group that I've put together. Please, if you want to join my Facebook group and talk more about the 4 hurdles of stop or anything else in your entrepreneur adventure, go to tuepodcast.net/Facebook. And if you want to listen to my podcast on any platform, go to Linktree, that's linktr.ee/DJ Scoob. All right, everybody, thank you so much for getting all the way through to the end. I hope you did, and you all have a great day. Bye-bye.